What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone's having a great day today. And today's video is going to be about wheelies. Alright, so you just got done binge watching all of Surron's YouTube videos. You just got the FedEx notification that your bike's out for delivery. You can't wait to get it, unbox it, get it in the streets, and start doing wheelies. Only you come to find out that it's not quite as easy as it looks on YouTube. Well, in this video, I'm going to go through how to step by step, as well as give a little bit of tips and tricks that I've learned over the years to hopefully take your wheelies from looking like this to looking like this. Alright, let's get into it. Before you start, there's a few things I'm going to recommend for beginners. One is going to be starting grass, and also wear protective gear, helmet, gloves, maybe some knee protection. If you're just starting out, you're probably going to drop the bike a time or two and maybe take a tumble, so take that into account and wear protective gear as you feel needed. The other two things I'm going to recommend for beginners is to leave your brake sensors hooked up, and also run your regen on level 4. What running the regen on level 4 is going to do is kind of act as an automatic brake when you let off the throttle to kind of help you in the case of a loop out. And same thing sort of with the brake sensors. When you apply the brake, it cuts off the throttle completely. If you're new to this kind of stuff, when you finally start getting the wheelies back kind of far, it can feel scary and your body will tense up, and that's when people get the whiskey throttle and loop the bike out and send it through the fence and all that kind of fun stuff. So basically what those brake sensors are going to do are going to save you if you tense up and get whiskey throttle and, you know, go to loop out. It'll just shut down the power to the bike and you'll be okay. Alright, so step one. We're going to start with our feet on the ground. Just sit kind of far back on the seat if you can, and get your feet on the ground or as close to the ground if you can. And then we're just going to practice lifting the front end up and smacking the brake and bringing it back down. And just kind of repeating that, getting the feel of it. Bring the front end up, brake, bring it down. And just kind of rep that until you get comfortable with it, until where your finger is ready to go on that rear brake to bring your front end down. And the reason we're doing this with our feet down like this is so where if you do go ahead and loop the bike, you're here. You're already on your feet. You can run out of this and save it 9 times out of 10. Worst comes to worst, you know, let the bike go, tuck and roll, but you're already on your feet. Versus if your feet are on the pegs, then you got to react and get your feet behind you to save yourself. So this is just kind of help in the beginning, to where if you loop out, if you drop the bike, you're already going to be right here on your feet. All right. So next step, after you get comfortable with that, we're going to try to keep going for a few. So just kind of lift and drag your feet, brake. And then just practice doing that. Just slam it down. Just practice that over and over. Get used to having that reflex for your brake when the front end gets too high. And that's going to be just pretty much the core fundamentals, and it's a safe way to practice it, especially if you're in grass and you have your feet down. It just saves you from tumbling and dropping the bike and actually getting hurt in the beginning. Alright, so once you're comfortable with the cheater wheelies, I call them, which are the ones with your feet down to kind of save yourself, once you build up your confidence enough doing those, you can go ahead and move on to the next step, which is going to be putting your feet on the pegs and doing a power wheelie, which is basically going to be, you're just chasing the wheelie, but you're going to travel a little bit of distance. It's going to look something like this. Alright, so once you've gotten comfortable with the cheater wheelies with your feet down and you want to start trying some power wheelies, basically what you're going to do is just lift the front end up, and you're going to be, it's what's called chasing a wheelie. You're not going to be quite back at balance point, but you are going to continue the wheelie on and travel. But when you do a power wheelie, you're kind of just increasing your speed the whole time, trying to keep the front wheel up. But here's a first person view of what I'm talking about. Here's a power wheelie. See, you're not quite far back enough, but you have enough throttle and torque to keep the front wheel up and keep the wheelie going. See how low that is? It's not really quite high up, but it's still a wheelie. But this is the next step. And then once you kind of get comfortable with power wheelies, you can start experimenting and trying to find the balance point, which is a little bit further back. But just make sure you keep that finger tucked right on that back brake, and then just start searching and getting further and further back until you get comfortable finding that balance spot. Once you start getting more comfortable with the power wheelies, you can try to start controlling your wrist to get the front end up a little bit further with the throttle and kind of get closer to finding that balance point, because it is pretty far back there and it feels scary in the beginning. It feels like you're going to loop out and kill yourself, but it's really not. So just kind of just get it up there and smack the back brake if you get tense, you know, just kind of experiment and feel how far back you can go before you're going to kind of start coasting and be in that balance point. There it is. And then I went a little bit too far there and I had to hit the brake. But once you get to that balance point, you don't really have to be as aggressive with the throttle and the brake. It kind of is a lot easier, and the inputs you have to do are a lot less to keep it there, versus a power wheelie. You have to really jam on the throttle to kind of keep the wheelie up. Once you're in balance point, it kind of becomes easy just to kind of teeter-totter between throttle and brake. Alright, so once you're comfortable doing the power wheelies and you start to experiment getting the front wheel a little further up and trying to find where that balance point is, I do recommend that you go ahead and keep your regen on level 4 still, because it's going to kind of act as that safety. As soon as you let off the throttle, it's going to kind of try to bring your front end down, kind of like an engine brake. But at this point, when you do get it up to balance point and you can feel that teeter-totter where you don't know if it's going to go forward or back, and you start hitting the brake there, once you get to that point, I do recommend going ahead and disconnecting your brake sensors. Once you're at balance point, it's going to be a really fine-tuned combo of gas and brake, really light inputs. It doesn't take that much, so I recommend disconnecting the brake sensors at that point, because when you hit the brakes, it's going to shut off your throttle, and then when you get it, just creates this lag and it makes it more hard than it needs to be when you get to this point. So in the beginning, I do recommend having the brake sensors on to, you know, eliminate whiskey throttle. But once you get to this point and you're comfortable, you are going to need to go ahead and disconnect those brake sensors to get in the balance point and keep it there. So again, I'm going to recommend being in grass, or at least, you know, I like doing them here because there's never anybody on this path and there's trees on both sides, because I have noticed that wind actually it will make you lean side to side. And about 10 miles an hour is about the sweet spot to where you want to go ahead and pop it up and just give it some throttle and lean back. And once you feel it there, we're coasting right there. Nothing. This is balance point. I had to hit the brake there to bring it back down, but we're just coasting. It really doesn't take much throttle or brake to keep it there once you're there. So just kind of lean back, get it up. Boom, we're coasting. Brake, gas, brake, gas, brake, gas, brake, gas. A little too high, brake, bring it down. I know I'm making it look simple and sound easy, but once you get over the fear of how far back you have to go to get in that balance point, it actually becomes a lot easier. So just in that comfort and that confidence only comes with practice. So wear your protective equipment, do it somewhere safe, and just practice. Do the reps, do it over and over and over. It's not going to happen overnight, but every time you go out and ride, you know, practice a little bit, you know, just kind of get it up to that point, and you can feel it teetering where it doesn't know if it wants to go forward or back, and it's super easy to keep it there just with light throttle. Brake, throttle, brake. And just kind of experiment with that. All right, I'm just going to kind of do one more demonstration to kind of talk you guys through what I'm doing here. So we're cruising, we're getting it up to about 10 miles an hour. When I go to pull, I'm going to pull with fully extended arms. I'm not going to have bent arms. I'm going to actually yank on the bars with fully extended arms as I give it throttle to get the front end up. And then we're going to accelerate with the throttle to kind of get it back far enough to where we need to be for balance point. And then from there, we're just going to do very light throttle inputs and very light brake inputs and try to just keep it teetering there right on the balance point. So get it up to about 10, throttle, yank back, throttle, get it up to balance point, and now we're just lightly ticking the throttle. Brake, oh, shoo! Almost looped it. See, you gotta be quick with that finger, especially if you're running regen on level 1 like I am. It lets you coast a lot better, besides for regen 4. But you do have to be quicker with your finger. That's why I recommend regen 4 if you're learning. And then once you get more comfortable with that, you can back it down to, you know, steadily to level 1. But all right, here we go. One more. Get it up to about 10. Yank, pull back, throttle. All right, we're in balance point. Real light throttle here. Light brake. Light brake, throttle. Light brake, throttle. We're coasting. Brake, coasting. Brake, throttle. And that's pretty much the fundamentals, guys. Give it a shot. practice. Practice makes perfect. I can't stress that enough. And that's pretty much the basics of it, guys. I hope this video helps accelerate your learning curve a little bit, and just practice, practice, practice. Wear safety gear, do it in a safe place where you're not going to hurt yourself or others. That's about it. All right, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for this video. If this video helped you out at all with your learning curve for wheelies, I would greatly appreciate it if you go ahead and drop the video a like, as well as if you have any other further questions or comments, go ahead and drop me a comment. I try to reply to all the comments, and if you're not yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching, guys. Hope everybody has a great rest of their day.